Somebody sitting up in church, hey, they better not come over here to me. They done made me mad. They better not come over here to me this morning. Because I got something for them. You come, don't even look this way. Somebody look over at you, rolling your eyes. But yet you on your way to heaven. You on your way somewhere. And it ain't around God's throne. Love does not keep a record of wrongdoings. It does not rejoice about injustice, but it rejoices when the truth wins out. Love never gives up, never loses faith. It's always hopeful. Love is always hopeful and endures through every circumstance. It endures through every circumstance. Beloved, if you have love, then you have everything. Because love is the fulfilling of God's law. It is all summed up in the command, thou shalt love. Do you not know that God commanded us to love one another? Yes. We get up there and sing that song, I command my hands to pray. Well, how about commanding your heart to love your brother and your sister? That's right. That's right. It's all summed up in this command. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Jesus said to a lawyer one day, to a liar. Did you get that? Jesus said to a lawyer one day, who asked him the question, Master, which is the greatest commandment in the law? And he said, thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. If you can't fulfill this first command, then you sure can't fulfill the second one. For it is like unto the first one, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. How can you love your neighbor? And how can you love God? Let me back up. How can you love God? Somebody you haven't even seen yet. But yet hate your brother. Amen. Yeah, Pastor, I don't necessarily hate him. I can't stand the ways. Well, that's all right if you can't stand somebody's ways, but don't say you hate. That's right. Hate is a powerful word, y'all. And let me tell you something. Once you put those words out there, it's hard to reel them back in. Because you done hurt. You don't know how bad you have hurt somebody when you tell them, I hate you. That person will walk around you and just walk around you and say, well, hey, I can love them, but I ain't got to associate with them people. Well, how do you love somebody and not associate? Let me tell you something. How can you love God and you don't want to associate with him? How can you love God and you don't even take his word and read it? Every now and then, I ain't going to say daily because I know some of you don't need daily. But every now and then, you ought to pick up this word sometime and you ought to want to fellowship with your Father. Yes, sir. You ought to want to fellowship with the man who died for you. Yes, the man who shedded his precious blood for you. Yes, you ought to want to fellowship sometime. And not just fellowship with him, because you see, we haven't got there yet, but God wants us to fellowship one with another. It says, fail not to assemble yourselves together, as the matter of some is. But you know, the matter of some is, some people don't want fellowship with a dog. And dogs supposed to be man's best friend. Get on right here, Fido. So he ain't gonna fellowship with a dog, you know he ain't gonna fellowship with you. And let me tell you something. Fellowship does not mean just the fellowship with those in your clique. Did I say something there? If you are a child of God, then this whole church is your clique.
Amen, amen, amen.
I don't have 2 or 3 people over here that I socialize with here. Look at them over there. They think they're big shots. They think they're something. Let me tell you something, honey. They think they're on the way to heaven. They ain't going. Well, where you going? If you're talking about this group over here, that they ain't going, you just as bad as they are. Let me tell you something. If you're talking about them and they talking about you, ain't neither one of you going nowhere. It's time to get our act together. Tell your neighbor, it's time to get your act together. It's time to lay aside little petty things. Little petty things that I can't put up with that. But look what God put up. Just think of how he puts up with us. Day in and day out. Love is the greatest command. Do you not know that if you love, then you fulfill the whole law of God? You fulfill everything else. Because if you love somebody, you ain't going to be running around here talking about people, scandalizing their name. And if you ain't going to let nobody else talk about them. If somebody comes and you talking about one of the members in your church, you have to say, hey, I don't want to hear it. Come on, go along with me. We'll go to that person. Huh? Somebody talk about somebody in your church. Come on, we're going to them. Huh? We'll find out, and then you'll find out whether they're right or wrong. Because, see, if they don't want to go with you, no. That's the way to break up a whole lot of mess. That's the way to tie down a whole lot of strongholds. God is getting sick and tired of a lot of mess going on in his house. We get tired of a mess in our house. So you know God's going to get tired of mess going on in his house. Looking down at his children. He said, my, why don't they get it together? God is looking down on us and say, why don't they get it together? It's not hard. They make it hard. But Pastor, you don't know what they said about me. They said some terrible things. And you just don't know. I can't stand it. I can't put up with it. Huh? You can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. God will give you the strength to put up with more than what you think Huh?
That's right.
Love covers